So on your pages, we're at V'diber Az, so we're right at the top of the second page. So the Hebrew is V'diber Az, the English is he then spoke as follows. So Helen, just to catch you up a little bit, until now it's been an introduction. And ultimately what you've said until this point is that the thing that gets in our way when we're trying to achieve some kind of mindfulness is ourself. When I'm thinking about me. And if I'm thinking about me, it's okay. It's okay. Mazel tov.
Thank you.
If I'm thinking about myself, that's going to be the thing that's going to get in the way of me being able to accomplish any kind of revelation, any kind of, the way he talks about it is Hashra'a mimarom, any kind of resting from above, that some kind of divine spirit will rest upon me. And the more ego I have, the more that's going to get in the way. And the example he gives is something from the Talmud where he says dreams in the Talmud are considered 1/60th of prophecy, because in a dream state, there's no sense of self, right? And we talked after that about the idea of the difference between prayer and Torah learning, that prayer is better for this kind of revelation than Torah learning, because Torah learning, I'm very much involved. My mind is active. When I'm studying something, my mind is involved. It's engaged, trying to understand what it means, trying to apply it to different situations, trying to understand how it fits for me, and how I can contextualize it. Whereas when it comes to our prayers, according to what Jewish prayer is, it's not really the asking, but it's more trying to just tune in to the divine will that exists. Right? It's not about me, it's just trying to tune into that which is already in the world. And trying to come to terms with how the world is and be at one with that. And so because I'm following the text of the Siddur, and the text of the Siddur is really guiding me to internalize what is the divine will, beyond my own will, what Hashem wants in the world. So at that point, it's not about me, and so I'm able to tune into it. And he said that really, if we're too involved in our thoughts, he said it's like a crazy wave, right? Or our thoughts are all over the place, all the time, up and down and left and right, and one thought connects to the next thought, and the only thing, the way he described, the only thing that differentiates every one of us from a crazy person is that we're able to kind of harness the thoughts that we want to express and express something that seems more sane, whereas a crazy person expresses every single thought along the whole wave, which it's this whole jumping around and has no bearing on reality. And most of us are able to really tune our thoughts into reality. But again, it's our thoughts. And so that's what complicates it, that we're trapped in our own heads. And that's where we are now. How do we get out of our own heads? How do we get out of these thought patterns into a place where we can become more mindful of the situations we're in, where we can become more mindful of our lives within the context of the world? And again, this is happening, I'm doing this right now, just to date this, it's Holocaust Education Week, and I've been doing this all week because Rabbi Kalonymus Kalman Shapera, who wrote this, or who taught this teaching, he was a rabbi in Poland, in Piaseczna, before the war, and during the war he became the Rebbe of the Warsaw Ghetto. So it's these kinds of teachings that he brought to the people in the ghetto, and these are the teachings that his students brought with them into the ghetto. And so that's why this, when I was advertising this, I called it mindfulness in the ghetto, mindfulness in the Warsaw Ghetto. The original thought was mindfulness out of it, but it's really he brought these in. And these are the kinds of thoughts that hopefully people were trying to engage with as they were going through some of the worst trauma, just to be mindful of where they were in life and who they were and how they were connected. So again, we're at the top of the second page. I'm going out of the book, and I'm translating on the fly out of the book. I have it translated for you on the page as well. ודיבר אז שיתחיל האיש להביט על מחשבותיו שעה קלה, לערך איזה רגעים, היינו מה אני חושב. He says the first thing a person should do, if we want to try to channel our thoughts, if we want to harness our thoughts,
He's writing in Hebrew?
Huh?
Not Yiddish?
Hebrew.
Hebrew.
Yeah, well, it was taught in Hebrew. There is a section there that's coming up here. Actually, in here, it's written in the Hebrew and then, in the Yiddish and then translated. I don't actually speak Yiddish. I might read it, but it's he says the first thing that a person should do, it says L'habit al machshavotav. Observe your thoughts. Look at your thoughts. Sha'akala. Le'erech eza rege'im. For an hour. Do it for an hour. Or for a period of time. And every now and then, kind of bring yourself back to the thought of ma'ani choshev. What am I thinking right now? Right? What's he saying? Can you observe your thoughts and not think about them? Just say, what are my thoughts? Not are they good, are they bad? Just what are they? Right? And it's not so simple. Right? Part of me will actually, let's just do that actually. Let's all take 30 seconds, a minute. We're going to sit quietly. If you want, you can close your eyes. And observe your thoughts. Don't judge them. Don't think if they're good thoughts or bad thoughts. Just observe. In the interest of time, I'm actually going to stop us already. Did anyone notice a judging thought that they had? I can tell you for myself, my first thought was, is this really going well? Is this class working? And my second thought was, I just said don't judge your thoughts. That's a stupid thing to say. Like, why am I even thinking that? Oh wait, don't judge my thoughts. Let's be quiet. Okay, quiet. Hearing that buzzing. Why am I thinking about buzzing where there's like a buzzing in the radiator? Why am I hearing that buzzing? That's a silly thing. This is such a deep Torah and I'm listening to a buzzing and it's bothering me. Why is it even bothering me? Okay, let's be quiet. There's people talking in the hall. Okay. I can observe that one. There's people talking in the hall. That's fine. Right? Like, that was essentially my flow of thought. And then I was like, how long has it been? Oh, it doesn't matter how long it's been. Let me look how everyone else is doing. That's pretty much what was going on in my head. Are they into it? Am I pushing us out of it too soon? How important is it to cover all the material?
Challenging yourself.
That's what I do all the time. But that's...
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think we tend to do that, to challenge ourselves. But it's also a little reality that comes through, like, what am I doing here? Okay?
Yeah.
And I think that's so normal.
I agree. It's so normal.
Because, first of all, yeah, it's normal.
But what I found great about it is, normally, I have all those thoughts, and I don't think about them.
See?
Right? What the Rebbe's saying is, you want to get out of yourself. If you want to get rid of your ego, see yourself objectively. See your own thoughts, right? That's the whole idea of judging it. Watching your thoughts, saying, what am I thinking, without judging them. The whole judgment is from my perspective. Am I doing a good job here? Am I giving everybody enough time to go through this exercise? Am I cutting this exercise short? How much do I want to get through this whole thing? Will we have enough time to get through this whole thing if I keep us in this meditation for too long? And at the same time, those are all ego-based thoughts, right? The one that said, "Oh, there's people outside," that was not an ego-based thought. I had no reason to judge it. And
Actually, I did judge it, because I'd also thought, why can't they talk a little softer or something like that? So, yeah.
right. So again, they're distracting me. It becomes the ego-based thought, right? That's exactly it. And he's saying, can you just look at your thoughts and say, what am I thinking right now? Which is a harder exercise.
I did driving myself crazy because if you've been in a place where there's two mirrors, one in front of you and one behind you, you can see reflections. So what I'm thinking goes on there, and then what I'm thinking comes back there, and then what I'm thinking comes there and reflects back there.
Interesting.
And then I went completely berserk and said, no, I can't do that. But that was my picture, is the two mirrors going back and forth.
Right. And, that reminds me of the imagery he gave before in terms of our thoughts are all over the place, bouncing from one place to the next, connecting to the next, connecting to the next, and connecting to the next. Can you imagine if you were telling somebody, or if you just had to express all of those thoughts as they were happening? You wouldn't be able to handle the world, and people would look at you like you're crazy, right? And that's exactly what he said. That's what a crazy person is. It's a person who just purely expresses every single thought they have. And here he's saying, observe your thoughts. Take that moment to observe it. And interestingly enough, if we practice that enough, then we can get out of it. He says, Az yargish la'at la'at sherasham mitrakan u'machshavotav amdo mishpatan haragil. Right? Or mishitafon haragil. He says, then a person will see that slowly, their thoughts and their mind are calming down. It's slowing down away from its natural flow, right? Compared to the natural flow, everything will seem like it's standing still. Va'az yatchil lemor pasuk echad. So here he says, there's a step 2 here. You might think that the main thing is to be mindful of your thoughts. Maybe mindfulness is just about being aware, which in the world right now, that's what it is. Am I mindful of my thoughts? Am I mindful of my movements? Am I mindful of the place that I'm in, and the room and the scenery around me? Am I mindful of things that are going on? Also without judgment, but am I aware of it? Here he says, that's good, but that's all step 1. Once you've achieved even a base level of mindfulness, there's a step 2. And this the world doesn't necessarily have yet. He says, Yatchil lemor pasuk echad, Kigon Hashem Elokim Emet. He says, say, once you have that place of mindfulness, where you're mindful, your mind is quiet, right? Everything is still, which takes work to get there. He says, fill that space. Don't just have empty space. Fill it with a verse. Right? He says, for example, Hashem Elokim Emet. Hashem, God is truth. Fill yourself with that mind. It says, in why Kidei lekasher achshav rosho hachalal mishar machshavot lemachshava achat shel kedusha. The reason we do it is because once we've observed our thoughts and taken ourselves out of it, and we can have our thoughts without judging them, and our mind is quiet. He says, so we have a halal, we have a void, we have emptiness. So what do I do with emptiness? I fill it. He says, so fill it with one thought of holiness. So for him, it's a verse that says, Hashem, God is truth. I can tell you one of the first meditations I ever had, even before I was studying this seriously, was I was saying the Kriyat Shema Shel Hamita, which is saying the Shema in bed before going to sleep, the bedtime Shema. And in certain editions of it, after you say the whole thing, and you say the Shema, and you say the blessing, and you say certain verses from Psalms and other verses, things like that, you have Adon Olam, which we all know from the end of Shul, Adon Olam. And the last line of Adon Olam, right, is or the last paragraph is Biyado afkid ruchi be'et ishan va'ira. I leave my soul in His hand when I'm sleeping and when I'm awake. Ve'im ruchi geviati Hashem li v'lo yira, and with my spirit and my body, right? God is with me, and I shall not fear. Hashem li, God is with me, v'lo yira, I shall not fear. I used to take those last 4 words, Hashem li v'lo yira, and I'd finish the Shema, and I'd lie down and say, well, I'm still awake, what should I do now? Hashem li v'lo yira, Hashem li v'lo yira, Hashem li v'lo yira. And I would just recite as a mantra, God is with me, I shall not fear. Hashem is with me, I shall not fear. Right? But what happened as I'm falling asleep? It's exactly what we said before. When we're sleeping, our minds are this halal, they're this empty space. We don't have active thoughts. So I filled that empty space with one active thought of Kedusha, thankfully. Thank God, I chapped this by myself. Fill that space with something. And you're saying, right, good, achieve mindfulness, achieve that quiet in your mind. But don't achieve quiet for the sake of quiet. Jewish meditation, Jewish mindfulness is not about being relaxed. It's about achieving that space and that sense of relaxation in order to reach out and find holiness. And that it's our minds and the constant running of our thoughts and our egos that get in the way of really attaining that level of holiness. And there's a rabbi who grew up in Toronto, actually, Rabbi David Aaron, and he said it many times based on the teachings of Rav Kook, that the purpose of the Jewish people in the world is of every individual in the world, it's to achieve holiness. Kiddushim tihiyu, be holy, right? Because you're right? What's it? Mamlechet Kohanim v'goy kadosh, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Our job is to be holy, to be whole, to be shalem. How do we achieve that shlemut? How do we achieve that wholeness and that peace and that holiness? Through this. Empty ourselves of our ego-based thoughts, of our sense of I, and fill it with a sense of kedusha, of holiness. Thoughts of holiness, thoughts of Torah. And when we do that, that's what's going to really bring us up. Now that's still only step 2. Because there's more. Right?
That's one step more than regular meditation.
Right. That's already one step more than regular meditation. He's not done yet.
Okay.
Right? Now when it comes to this verse of Kedusha, you should know that when it comes to finding it, it could be when you're going through your tefillot, when you're going through a siddur, right, or any Jewish song, or anything like that, and you find a verse or a line that really speaks to you, right, in English or Hebrew, it doesn't matter. Say, that's so meaningful to me, that's great. I mean, we have the Art Scroll Siddurim right here. There's a whole concept at the back that has verses for people's names, and that you take your own Hebrew name, and you take the first letter and last letter of your name, and then it gives you a list of verses that the first letter and the last letter of that verse is the same as your name, and that verse kind of is supposed to speak to your neshama on a certain level. I don't really know what that means. There's a lot to talk about just on that subject, but you could look that up, right? And find what's the verse that corresponds to my name, and maybe that I'll find meaning in that. And so then you learn that, and you can kind of use that for anything, right? It could be, like I said, from Adon Olam, something simple, something that we say all the time, and we never really think about it since we were little, right? You can find something meaningful there. For me, that verse is still meaningful. Every time I say it, every Shabbat, it's like, right, Shem li v'lo yira. Right? Anyway.
Where are the verses in there?
So in this particular one, they're towards the back. For the Torah reading, it's page 924. Well, Baruch Hashem, I found that quickly. 924 to 926. Okay. So it gives the first letter and the last letter, and then has a verse next to it. Right. And it, at the bottom, it sources where it is. So if the Hebrew is difficult, you can at least find the source, and then find an English translation. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, so then he goes, V'achar kach. Where are we here? We're in the third line here. V'achar kach, kvar yachol hu, levakesh tzarchav, be'ezo midah shu tzarich, lehitaken, b'chizuk emunah, u'ava v'yira. He says, and this is where the idea of growing personally happens. Once I filled that spell, we're going to continue. So he goes on. Right. So it says, Kol ha'olam v'chol asher bo hem rak ha'arat or Hashem. The whole world and everything in it is only the shining of the light of Hashem. Right. There's nothing more than that in the world. Right. Whatever you're looking at, like the page in front of you, that's an aspect of the light of Hashem. Right. When we look at each other, sitting here at this table, we're seeing the light of God. When I look at the table, when I look at the book, I'm seeing an aspect of the light of Hashem. When I look at my phone, I'm looking at an aspect of the light of Hashem, which is something else entirely, right? To say I can look at my phone and I can see something divine, right? I look at my phone most of the time, I'm saying, this is the worst thing in the world. It's keeping me away from divinity. It's such a distraction, like we were talking about the last couple of days. How can I be involved in this distraction? And here he's saying, no, anything you see is shining the light of God. So even this has some aspect of it which is shining divine light into the world. I have to work to see that. But that's
a way of transmitting the message that you're giving now to a wider audience.
There it is.
So maybe that's the aspect.
I can tell you how much Torah I've learned on my phone. I have more Torah books on my phone than the whole shul's library and my whole library combined on one program. And I have about 3 different programs of Torah libraries. It's the amount of information that's available in Torah, that's available on this small little device, is unbelievable. And how much I've learned from listening to podcasts and other classes and watching YouTube videos of different rabbis. And, fine, I also watch plenty of YouTube videos that are not rabbis and that are really wasting my time. But I've learned so much from it, So yeah, you're right. And I guess even those wastes of time have some kind of value to them, because if they exist in the world,
they also empty your mind.
on a certain level, perhaps those seemingly empty experiences are actually manifesting some kind of godliness. All right. So how does he go? He goes, we're in your sheets, second line towards the end of that paragraph. So we're in the second paragraph or the third paragraph of English.
Middle of the page.
Right. It says, "V'kach shinan eze pa'amim," and this is what he taught a number of times. Aval lo sheyomar zot b'chazaka, ki kol ha'inyan hu rak lahashkit machshavotav. Right. He says, but when we say in that empty space that I've now filled with holiness and kedusha, and I say, here's what I want. I want more faith. I want to really understand what it means to have faith in God. I want to really understand what it means to love. I want to really understand what it means to have awe. He says, we don't demand it. It shouldn't be b'chazaka. It shouldn't be with strength. Right? Because again, what's the whole matter here? The whole point here isn't to create egocentric thoughts. It's to quiet our thoughts. Right? But when somebody says something as though like this is the be-all and end-all of my statements, the only thing it can do is it can awaken my sense of self. Right? And nochiyut is right, myself. Right? Rak adraba ba'ofen kama'od. It has to be the opposite. It has to be very soft. I have to be in a place of relaxation. I have to be in a place where I had this halal, this emptiness. I have to be in a place where I filled that space with this verse of Kedusha, and my whole inner focus is now towards that of holiness. And at that point, I hopefully will be in a soft place, and I can say, I'm feeling this thought of Kedusha. Let's say Hashem li v'lo yira, which is the verse that I like. God is with me, I shall not fear. What is this God that I want to be with me? Hashem, who are you? Give me faith. Let me know who you are. Hashem, you love me. Hashem, I'm supposed to have fear of you. Let me know what that means. Not in this, I need to know. But let me know. Let it be part of my life. Let it be part of my experience. And we're going to stop here for today. And we're going to try to continue on this experience tomorrow. And hopefully we'll finish the whole piece tomorrow. Thank you all again for joining me.
Thank you.
And thank you, Facebook World, for joining me for the second half. The rest of it will be available soon.